All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. Back after a little break, a hiatus, I guess I should say, for a week. Not really a huge break, but we 2 episodes off, and we are back. As always, folks, I'm your host, Bailey Egbert, and joined with me is the captain, Mr. Andy Full. What's going on, buddy?
Welcome home to snowy Buffalo.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, it's great. But on Thursday it's going to be 70, and I think on Saturday it's going to snow again. So like we
Can't
are,
wait.
yeah, it's like the Ides of March, right? Like you never know what's going to happen 4 hours from now. So, but we had beautiful sunshine today. The ice boom's coming out. We'll be catching big smallmouth in about 2 weeks, and I cannot wait.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And about hopefully in a couple days, I'm gonna try to sneak out after work one of these days and get to one of the local honey holes. Maybe try a new lake that I have not been to around here ever, which is pretty rare when you've been living in the state for so long, especially like New York. Like we have a lot of lakes, but we don't have like a Minnesota. You know what I mean? Like we're nowhere near that. So it's typically especially if you live in Western or Central New York, you can kind of hit almost every lake beyond like the Adirondacks that got like the little small little
Yeah.
portage lakes and stuff. But like I'm pretty excited either way to go hit up this new lake and have the weekend to finally hit the open water. It was, I will say, I obviously don't like coming home to this cold weather, but being that I was away from home in Oklahoma working at Redcrest, it was like almost gut wrenching, like knowing that there's open water at home and I couldn't fish it. But
Well, it was
either
a
way,
pretty
we're home.
cold weekend anyway, so
Yeah.
you didn't really miss out on too
This
much. It was
is
a good weekend to go to slightly warmer pastures, I guess we could say, as in Oklahoma, because it wasn't even the warmest out there, right?
No. So what's crazy was, and during practice, Edwin Evers told me the water temp was 47 on Grand Lake. And I was like, for the South, like this time of year, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe Oklahoma's different, but I think it was 55 during the event.
That warmed up
Which,
quick.
yeah. Which, by the way, big congrats to Mr. Bobby Lane on the victory. I think out of that top 10, I don't think there's anybody that's been as long overdue for a major championship title than Bobby.
Yeah, yeah, he's been close quite a bit, especially now that he's in the BPT, right? Like I think he had another second place finish, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
in the
Last
Red
year, I think it
Crest.
was Travis to Wheeler.
Yeah.
So it almost happened again, which would have been brutal.
Oh
Which,
gosh.
by the way, we have the Red Crest winning bait right here. And
Ooh.
the old Berkeley Fritzside 5 and that HD Brown Craw. And what's kind of cool about this, I would say that you guys could go get this for 15% off at Omnia Fishing. But unfortunately, by Monday morning, they were sold out, along
Yeah.
with the Berkeley Stunna that about 7 out of 10 anglers in the top 10 on Sunday were using. Don't let their jerseys fool you. But what's cool about this, and I'm not just giving a Berkeley plug here, but we have 3 different Fritz sides. They come in 3 different sizes in that HD pattern. So you have your 5 that was the Red Crest winning. That's your normal size. You have the 5 Biggin, which is much bigger than the 5 in terms of length. Same tight wobble, same diameter. And then you have your 5 Junior, which is even smaller. And so it's a very versatile bait, and it's something really cool. And we're going to get some guys on from Berkeley on the bait team here soon to start talking about the science behind this stuff, because it's actually a really, really intriguing conversation. And I know you, Andy, especially would geek the hell out on this stuff.
I love it. Like and having like a sound understanding slightly of what's going on just because of like talking with you about it and such, like it's so cool. Just to like understand the problem solving that goes into creating a very similar bait in every size instead of just mass producing them and thinking they all work the same. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So some people that we're going to get on, which Hella Bass is in here asking which
A
Fritz size
blade
best
bait.
through the ice. Yeah.
A
Just
blade bait.
get you a big old flipping stick and a 2-ounce punch weight, and hopefully she goes through. That's about all I can tell.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so coming up soon, we actually, we're 5 minutes in here really fast. We have Mr. Keith Tuma joining us here tonight, but he's getting some technical difficulties, which, as I say it, he joins us here in the queue.
So should we announce him as our host of the night?
Our host is joining us tonight. For folks who know, the last time we had Mr. Tuma on, he sold the show, and we're like, man, this guy's just so good at this stuff. Maybe he should be our host. And either way, Keith is one of the nicest guys that I have met in this industry, and I'm hyped to get him back on here because, honestly, dude, at the Bassmaster Classic, he stole the show in terms of on stage. Like well, we're gonna talk to him here in a second, but before he does, I'm gonna make him suffer through me giving him a compliment here. So Dave Mercer comes up because he has I think he had 2 fish on day 1, and he goes, oh, well, I know it's not the day you wanted, but you can go get him on day 2. And he's like, what do you mean? It's my biggest bag on the Bassmaster Classic stage. And everyone was laughing because it's true, but he had the most positive outlook on a day where a lot of anglers probably would have been pissed off. And with that being said, let's introduce our guest here,
our host, Mr.
Keith Tuma. What's going on?
Welcome.
Thank you for keeping me backstage through that whole thing. Hey, fellas.
He figured out technology. Round of applause for Mr. Keith Tuma.
Well, we got to be happy about being on Serious Angler again, man. It's been a while. I've missed you boys.
I know.
We missed you too.
It was dude, I just have to say, before we get in the show, talking about what I just mentioned about you on stage on day 1, it was pretty awesome when you were just a positive outlook you had on it because you knew where you were, and you're like, nah, it's my biggest bag and I've ever had on the Bassmaster Classic stage. That's like a way that the 1% of people would look at things in that scenario.
Boy, it didn't even take anything out of me to be like that up there. It honestly didn't. It just felt natural. And yeah, dude, we all have good tournaments. We all have bad tournaments. It just happens. And it's how you roll with it that makes or breaks you, I believe. And dude, I owned it. It was fun. That was my first bag and my biggest bag to that point that I'd ever weighed at a classic. So why not embrace it? And ultimately, yeah, I'm there competing at the Classic. It's my biggest tournament ever. But there's so many fans. There's so many people nationwide, worldwide, friends, family, loved ones, people I don't even know that are going to be watching this. And, ultimately we're there. BASS is there for the fans. Tournament anglers, it's for the anglers too, and for us to compete and try and do well in tournaments. I get all that stuff, but the fans keep it alive, man. And if you get them on your side, I had so many positive compliments afterwards. It was great. People running up to me, hey man, can we get your picture? It was so great. And I said, yeah, not a problem. Let's do this. And boy, you really do shake. I said, yeah, it's the Tuma Twitch. That stuff's patented.
That is for sure.
That's good vibes, good energy. I'm sending it to you. So
yeah, I will.
No, it's good times. I had an absolute blast. I would not change the outcome for a number of different reasons. The most recent one that came to my head, which I thought was kind of funny, is those other guys have got some fragile egos. I don't know if they could have handled coming in 55th, but I nailed it, so I took the pressure off of them. That's not me. They're all a great bunch of dudes. But yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything. Proud of myself. Proud of the few fish that wanted to go for rides in my boat. It was just, there was so much going on that I've described it as like a 3-ring circus with a side note of, hey, let's let these guys fish. So it was a hoot. I'd love to do it again. Same results. Don't even care. Let's do this.
A 3-ring circus is a great way to describe the Classic.
There's a lot going on, with not just media day, but banquets and, appreciation dinners, and just to see the level of support from all of the promoters, the sponsors, in BASS and with, the products that we all use as anglers. Holy criminy. It was overwhelming, to be honest with you. And everybody was, super nice and just happy. If you need anything, let us know. We're here for you, that type of thing. I've been a 100% consumer my whole life. You know, I've paid full on retail for everything that I fish out of, and I've never really asked for or done, any searching out for help. So I've been, like I said, a customer of the companies that I've chosen to work with for quite a few years. Heck, my old Skeeter was an 06, and I bought that thing. Actually, no, take that back. It was an 05, but it was an 06, but I got it in 05. How's that? Like August of 05. But that was my first boat, or my first new boat. Because then after that, I bought the Stroker. We don't need to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, it's just, so I've used this stuff like Power Pole, like the Stealth charging system and the Stealth lithium batteries, 13 fishing rods. Here I'll go through all my plugs right away to get it out of the way before we start
Fire at will.
enjoying some adult stuff. But dude, hydrometal propellers. That'll make a Skeeter run. But anyway, we can talk about that stuff later on.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got some big boy offers from the Classic, didn't you?
Nothing really from the Classic, but
Did
prior
you add it to Team Skeeter?
Technically, yeah. But that happened probably in August.
Oh,
What comes before July? Yeah, not August of 21. I got actually through Andy Walls, my normal team partner, knows Joe Carlson quite well from the Minnesota rep, and put in a call, and he brought us both on. Said, yeah, let's do this. You guys are having a killer time, and we'd love to get you representing. So yeah, it's great.
I can personally confirm as well that the Tuma Twitch is a legitimate thing, because when I saw you on media day, I was like, well, you excited, bud? And you're like, oh, you didn't say anything. You did like almost the Will Ferrell, like, I don't know what to do with my hands, except your hands were like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're like, I can't sit still. Like, all I could do is laugh. But it
purposely avoided coffee and everything. It was horrible. But so, I mean, that's just good energy. I don't think the southern fish are quite accustomed to it yet. I got to soak a lure a little longer, but they'll get it. Sooner or later, they'll be like, man, what was that crazy buzzing way up in this corner of this one creek arm? We got to check that out at some point.
And they're like, why is that shad having a seizure?
Right. It's supposed to be a crankbait, and here it is causing a big commotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so excited his square bill's like a buzz bait.
Oh, shoot.
Helicopter.
Yeah, my swimmer rig, I had to throw a 3/4 ounce head on the thing just to keep it a foot under the water. I guess I was pretty excited. Probably explains why the 2 fish day one.
Oh, and that's something I wanted to get into if you're cool with it, is kind of talk about the fishing itself, because obviously, I mean, on one end as an angler, you're like, obviously you want to come in with a limit, but on the other end, I'm super like pumped and inspired by the positive outlook you came away with, and I'm jealous of it, because for me, I probably would have been a negative Nancy, but like, oh, this sucks. I'm in the Classic.
It would still be sour 2 years later.
Yeah.
It's okay, Bailey.
But looking at the fishing, I'm very curious, what your thoughts were going into Hartwell, like how your practice was. We heard a lot from the guys at the top, but I'm kind of curious to hear how it went for you, a guy that you probably never even seen a Carolina lake.
Well, I had put in a little bit of time in there pre-fish. I was down after Lake Norman. I was down there for, I think, 4 days. So I got to check some things out at Normal Pool. Then went back in December and looked at some things. And for some reason, the fish that I was finding were doing the exact same thing in September as they were December, which was, I guess, confidence inspiring or motivating or whatever you want to say. But I was eager to see if that was still going to play come March or end of February. Didn't. It all went away. So that was kind of crazy. But so I had a little bit of prior time on the lake. I saw it at 4 feet down or 4.5 feet down, whatever winter pool was, in December when I was out there. Would have loved to have spent another week or two out there, but obligations back home, so it's fine. Just to learn the lay of the lake and all that stuff, and how things are shaken out, things along those lines. The other little thing that maybe got into my head a little bit when I was down in unofficial practice in February, just like the week before the tournament. I had just picked up a brand new boat and drove down to Texas. I think it was, I was due to leave the 23rd. The 17th, I got the call, left at 6 p.m. the 17th, shot down to Texas, got there at 10:30 in the morning, had a little lunch, went down with a travel buddy of mine. He's a power driver. It's awesome. But
make him drive.
He drove some, and I drove some, and yeah, we just switched places. We never really took a break except for the dinner I was about to tell you about, or lunch, late breakfast, whatever. But then was told, don't be to the plant before 1 o'clock. That was Joanne down there saying that. So shot her a message. Oh, here's my insurance stuff, and I may or may not be sitting in front of the plant right now in the parking lot taking a nap. She calls, hey, they're ready for you. I was like, no kidding, awesome. At 1:30 in the afternoon, we're pointed back north. Got home 5 in the morning on Saturday and took a 2-hour power nap and started rigging. So it was exciting, got it all done, but fired it up in the garage, poured some gas in it, fired it up, last thing to do. And then the long run fire up was, and the break-in and all that stuff was done on Hartwell. So got to learn a brand new boat.
During practice?
On a brand new lake.
Yeah. Yeah. With basically new electronics, front and rear, and, you know, a whole brand new boat. I didn't know what to do. So I just got out there and idled around and drove around and saw some of the lake and tried to find went and revisited some memories, and realized really early on that was not the deal. So forced myself to broaden the horizons a little bit and tried to find some different stuff.
Man, I really would have thought Mr. Keith Tuma, the boat tinkerer, would have had like some rig going 85 down Hartwell, just making everyone else look silly.
That was the December boat.
Dang. Why didn't you keep the December boat? I'm curious.
I personally wanted to be. I'm a fan of fishing out of skeeters. They're great. I personally wanted to be in a newer rig, just to you know, especially if I was going to be on board with the Skeeter and Yamaha, to just represent the brand and the product, and you know, showcase something a little bit different. I think I'm the only one out there in the well, that was the only one in the Classic running a dual console, which I thought was pretty cool. So, or as far as the Skeeter goes, anyway.
Yeah,
but.
So
all the marshals were like, "Oh my God, it's a dual console! We're so happy!" I was like, "Yeah,
breathe.
It's not even cold. I'm wearing shorts and flip flops. Let's do this."
That's amazing. So, I mean, looking back on the Classic, I mean, talking about fishing wise, obviously, it probably would have been nicer to have the boat earlier and have some more time with it prior to Classic practice. But beyond that aspect, you know, looking back, what things would you potentially may have changed?
I probably should. My start area was way up Seneca, and I had it all to myself, and that was one of my first little clues in the back of my head. It's like, oh boy, everybody found the main lake stuff, which I wasn't going to put it past these guys. I mean, they're phenomenal. They're pros. They've already got a couple of tournaments under their belts. They're warmed up. This was my first tournament of the year, so a little rusty after not having fished for a couple months, but whatever. But I ran way up there, and in practice, I had found a load of decent fish. It wasn't the winning fish, but my strategy was go up there and try and crack a limit. And I had the bites and I had the opportunities that first day. My first fish, I want to say it was 3 or 4 casts in, was that 2-pound largie, and it had tag in it. I didn't know until I got back to weigh in. That was pretty cool, but. And I'm thinking, okay, they're still here, you know, and that was actually, from what I'd found in this area, one of the smaller fish. I mean, there was 2 3/4 to 3 pounders swimming around in there like crazy. So I worked the whole area down, and it was pretty significant area. And it was just a series of points with little itty bitty creeks or little itty bitty guts that would run back. And there was fish activity there. So I would switch back and forth between a jerk bait and between a swim jig or a swimmer. Anyway, and they would either just bump the jerk bait or swipe at it or something. And then the swimmer, seems like they were just pushing it, or they'd nip at it and get it right behind the hook. So it was actually kind of a really weird deal, but definitely had the bites at that point to have come out of there with a limit. Ran back, made one pass down, fished around a little bit, went back up further towards main channel, thinking, all right, well, maybe they've moved back out with the colder weather. This was obviously first day of the tournament. Sorry, I don't know if you asked me pre-fishing questions or what, but
keep it rolling.
Cast in on the first point in from the main channel. Just get lit up and it's pull and drag instantly. I told my marshal, I said, this is a striper, but we're going to do the let's be a bass dance, a largemouth or this big spot, you know, but it wasn't. It was like an 8 or 9 pound striper, which was really exciting, but at the same time kind of frustrating, but yeah, it was fun. From there, I ran to a secondary spot where I'd found a pile of fish, really decent ones. This is where I was hoping to upgrade and pull in. There's a local guy fishing, and I sat down kind of away from him, but I was going to idle back, and said, "Hey, did you leave me any back there?" He goes, "Well, I probably caught about a dozen so far."
Oh boy!
I was like, "Good job, bud." So it made a little corner way in the back, and then it opened up to a shallow flat back there, which is things were happening back there. We'll just put it that way. Get back there, and there's a boat back there just waylaying on them too. So it's like, what the heck? Yeah. So from there, ran back out to Main Lake. The official practice day, which would have been 2 days before the tournament. My center of the lake, where everybody else pretty much was, as far as what I saw in when the heads popped up on the screen. A buddy of mine screenshotted it for me and sent it to me. I was like, oh, see, I was in the right area. But I'd pulled up to this one point, and there was a little bit of brush with some scattered stumps and whatnot. I'm thinking, great area. It's going to hold. They're pre-spawn, there's bait around. It should be fine. Pull up there, drop trolling motor down, seeing the same things. There's bait swimming around, and had one bump it there. But in practice, my first fish there was like a 4 1/4. And then I went and fished around, got out of the area, basically just kind of marked around stuff, and went to another area that was similar and caught one that was dangerously close to 5. And I was like, oh boy, I should probably not be fishing anymore and just more looking. So, but I think in that couple days, those fish kind of even pushed back a little bit further, and I just didn't follow them properly, I would say. But I knew that if I could run up the river and have that pretty much to myself, come out of there with a limit is what I was hoping each day, and then run to the main lake, and just fish slow, fish calm, and do my upgrading there is what in my head was the plan.
Right.
But yeah, it didn't play out like that, but had a blast. Had an absolute blast each day.
That's what we call fishing, Keith.
It was definitely not catching for me. It was fishing.
Well, I'm kind of curious, because obviously it was your first classic. What was it like for you going through the basically day off, or was it 2 days off basically until day one of the classic? So you kind of had to, almost everyone has to adjust to what they found in practice, just because one, it's a couple days or a day and a half, I think it was, from practice till then. A lot of things can change, as everyone knows, especially this time of year.
Right.
But also that week, it was a crazy temperature swing.
Yes, it was.
So it's like, how was that for the first time for you dealing with that?
I wasn't going to let it. I was going to try and not let it get in my head, which I didn't. I needed to sample that one spot to get it out of my head and feel comfortable with it. Clearly, I was in by what the locals told me and I witnessed, and where I started. I was in a decent area to come out of there with an okay bag. Had I made the proper adjustments, the fish were telling me what to do. I wasn't really listening and paying attention. That first jerkbait fish just absolutely annihilated it. And then from there on out, it just got weird on me. I don't know at this point what I could have done exactly to adjust. Maybe just lock the jerkbait in my hand and fish it a heck of a lot slower. The one thing I did find in practice, from when I found that first area, the initial start area, the wind was blowing into it a little bit. which was, in my opinion, activating the fish on the jerkbait bite a little bit better. And it was more or less, I don't know, 180 degrees wind switch change from when I found it. So it was fairly calm over there. But I did get on. It was the weirdest thing. I would be casting pretty much into the wind and get a backlash or a little overrun or whatever, and just be picking it out and reel up to tighten the line to go make my first twitch, and there'd be a fish on there. It happened numerous times. So it's like, oh, they want it really slow. So I just didn't. I was thinking 2 or 3 spots ahead of where I was actually fishing, and that was probably a little bit of my downfall.
Not really being mentally kind of in that moment versus thinking
Correct.
what you're going to do next.
And I knew, like you were saying, with the weather changing and all that stuff, I knew for the first couple hours, I was going to be pre-fishing, and it's fine. I mean, it really was fine. I would say that I'm disappointed, but I took it all as an opportunity for one hell of an education. Yeah. And it definitely was. The Southern Lakes, they've had my number. The reservoirs anyway, with the chasing of the herring and the chasing of the shad and all that stuff. I mean, this is all brand new to me. You heard Mercer say, I mean, this is my fourth BASS major event. Considering the Opens is a major event, which I certainly do. I'm new, man. I may be old, but I'm new, so I'm learning. And like I said, I'm broadening my horizons, and I can't take every trick that I've got from up here and apply it to down there. But the dang sure thing is I can take tricks that I'm learning down there and bring them up here. And that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And saying that's kind of all brand new to you, there is a decent question here from Hello Bass, who's also out from your neck of the woods. And being that you guys have so many lakes out there, is there any lake that somewhat fishes like Hartwell to kind of even closely practice for that kind of deal?
Personally, and this was what my plan was to do had I got the boat a little sooner, I feel that the closest lake that would fish similar to Hartwell would be Table Rock. And I was going to make a run down there and just go, hopefully break the boat in, do a few other little things, and then just kind of fish around, like legit fish, and see what they're doing. But the other thing that kind of took that out of my game plan was the weather that they were having at the time a few weeks before I had to leave for the Classic. I mean, they got super cold and a ton of snow and ice and just really not fun weather to fish in that time of year. But I can't really think of any other lake around here, and I haven't fished a ball that fishes like Hartwell. I would say the closest one would be, something similar to Table Rock, or, maybe Ozarks, Lake of the Ozarks, a little closer, but
yeah,
that's even different than Table Rock. And I think Table Rock's a lot closer to Hartwell, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know.
That kind of it's a good segue into what we're going to talk about next, in terms of like the situation that you had, like going to a brand new lake that you have zero experience doing, which, speaking personally for Andy and I, any lake outside of New York is probably brand spanking new because
right.
our lakes are so unique. But like going down to Hartwell, especially in your pre-practice, getting the lay of the land. I mean, before you even launch the boat, what kind of things are you looking for? What research are you doing, if you do any at all?
I was all over Google Earth, and just looking around. I'd bounce back between the satellite imagery and then the regular whatever plain Jane map that pops up, just to see where little creek arms and stuff run, and then zooming in. Obviously, going back for a couple of years to check different water levels and things along those lines. But so no, Google Earth was a big factor in some of the things that I was checking out. I did look at previous tournament videos out there. Not that I was going to copy anything that anybody was doing, because it's a different year and it's a different time and all that stuff. And
right.
Personally, that's not overly cool, but in my opinion, I want to find my own stuff, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I think that's with that goes to be said for anybody. But just to, I don't know, not really familiarize myself with that type of fishery, but just to see how guys break it down and are fishing it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, the footage is out there for a reason, and everybody's checking stuff out. It's public knowledge or whatever. So not that I was looking for spots, which I wasn't. I wasn't really, aside from being in that big group of guys in the center part of the lake, it was still spread way out, and I was never in anybody's way. And yeah, never really ran into anybody. I ran into Jacob Krosnick on day 2. He was coming into one little arm to check out some stuff deep. And I said, hey man, I just, if you want me out of here, I'll get out of here. He had a pretty decent day on day 2, and he's a great guy. He's been really nice to me. One of the good guys, and very welcoming and all that stuff. But he's like, no man, I said, I got a brush pile. I got to go check. And he's like, go for it, go check it. I'm just going to be out here. So I went back there and checked it, and they were swarming around that thing in practice the couple days before the tournament. There was a nice bag of fish sitting there, and they were still in the area. I just they moved out. Mm-hmm. There was nothing there day 2. Day 1, I had a little faux pas, but it happens. So,
do you have forward facing on your boat?
Pardon me?
Do you have forward facing on your boat?
I do.
Yep. What are you running?
Garmin.
Okay.
Yep, I'm Garmin, and then I'm coupled with I've got the Humminbird 360 as well. So I'm kind of using the two in conjunction to get a better idea of what's out there. As far as just what I'm seeing, it helps it make sense, in my opinion. But
so when you do all your research and your stuff before even backing the boat down the ramp, when you get out on the water, I mean, are you a guy that wants to spend some time looking at your screens for a while, or are you a guy that's going to go, that looks good, and just start fishing stuff so you kind of get a feel for things?
That looks good, I'm going to go fishing. And then I end up forgetting about a lot of stuff. Now, as soon as you mentioned that, I found a really nice brush pile that had some pretty decent fish in it. We're staying right by Broyles recreational area, and that's the access that I put in for a couple days. And yeah, there's a great brush pile right there. And I forgot all about it.
Folks, and now everyone knows about it.
Yeah, whatever. There's a big orange marker on it now. Whatever. But it was there. There were some nice ones there.
Keith is like, I'm never gonna have to worry about it. I mentioned it. I'm never be at Hartwell again. And he's gonna qualify for his next classic, and it's gonna be on Hartwell.
Or he's gonna fish the Southern Opens randomly, right? And then
I wanted to get in. I wanted to get into the Southern so badly. I really did, and that's okay though. The Northerns accepted me, so we'll see how that shakes out. But the running the MNB on Team Trail. So the goal this year is to hopefully qualify for the team championship again, and that's on Hartwell in December. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Might have an idea. And I'll go check that brush pile for everybody. So I'll make a post on either Instagram or Facebook. And
that would be. I've always been curious about that. Sometimes, like you post up like a waypoints to some random ass thing and just like wait on it and just see how many people visit it that next day.
I think that'd become hilarious. Yeah.
I think that's pretty intriguing.
we could do it. I'll start dropping dots all over.
It's almost like a social experiment to see, like, people give each other a lot of crap for like posting stuff on social media, and people have blacked out backgrounds. I mean, I do it myself, so I can't talk crap about it. But like, and people, especially people that do YouTube, I mean, people there's a negative stigma for people that do YouTube.
Correct.
But that would be a fun social experiment to see how much does it actually impact. I mean, a guy like me and Andy probably is just like a couple local guys know about it now, but I'm sure like a Milliken or something, then look what happened to OHIV. Not saying that he's fully to blame, but like, because he didn't even release it. I think it was Texas Parks and Wildlife that released it.
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah.
But people figure out real quick where you're at.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And when you say Ben
Mhm.
Billiken, you already have like a massive crowd that's, all over your crap.
Right.
That would be I don't know. Sorry for the tangent. It was just like,
No, it's okay. Tangent away, man. The more you talk, the less I have to, and you kind of seem more interesting right now.
you're our host, man. You're supposed to be doing all the talking
Oh,
here.
Oh,
You know, I
God.
forgot my list of questions. Actually, you forgot to email them to me, so
Oh, I know. It's my fault.
Shots. Taking
You got-
shots. I love this.
Here you go, Keith. It's your show now. Okay.
oh great, here we go. No, you can't do that to me. That's too much on the spot. Hey, you guys did trade places though, so this is
We
fun.
did.
I know. So Andy, take over.
Now
bud.
you're really muscling me. I don't know where to look.
So Keith, one question though, since you are like you show up to the lake and you go fish when you're doing your map study, Google Earth and stuff, are you a quadrant type guy? So do you break down the lake into quadrants and then just find the best looking, juiciest stuff and go right there and start pedal down, trolling motor casting? Or do you really like slow down and then when you get there based on the conditions, then you go?
Personally, until I feel a little bit comfortable with the lake, after generally when I'm driving, it's been between 17 and 20 some hour drive, and I'll get there the day before. So I'll back the boat in, make sure I've got everything rocking and rolling good, hit the trolling motor. I'll idle over or run to a very close spot that looks decent, and I'll fish for an hour or so just to get my bearings, get my sea legs back on, just get reacclimated or familiar with a new boat. And then from there, it's like, okay, it's time to go explore. And honestly, I think there's guys that have the mentality, man, I want to see the whole lake. And it's like, all right, I get that. That's a lot of freaking information, especially on a lake the size of Hartwell. And that's probably where could have been another mistake. I should have probably just picked an area, committed fully. And I think that would have probably been a lot easier for me to take, if you will. Just commit to an area. There's fish there. There's fish all freaking over that lake. The winning bag was in numerous places. It's just whoever, obviously Jason Christie found the winning bag, which is awesome. Other guys were very close, which was awesome. But it just goes to show you that there's schools of fish out there. There's pods of fish. There's random single fish everywhere in any given lake, actually. And it's just you'll land on the right combination of the above, and it'll happen for you in a big way.
Yeah, and then you have to hope they bite.
Correct, and then get them in the boat.
Yeah,
yeah. Don't break line or do silly things like that.
Yeah.
So to add on, with my question earlier about are you kind of guy that likes to get out and look at your screen for a while, like to a brand new lake, a lake you've never been to, if you like to look at a screen or just go fish what looks good. One thing I've noticed that I've done on lakes that I've never been to is I start to get scatterbrained where I find one thing that looks good. I found another thing that looks good where I can't, like, I'll get a bite on something, but then I see something completely opposite looks good and I'll leave that bite and go try something different.
But what if you get bit on that? Now you got two patterns.
Right. Okay. So that was going to lead me into my question for you is like, do you like to stay focused during that time? But I think you just answered my question where you're just going to be opportunistic with what comes.
I got ADD when it comes to pre-fishing for at least the first day or so. And I'm trying to get as much intel in a short period of time as possible. And that may be the wrong approach, but with the way my brain works or sometimes doesn't, it seems to be the easiest thing for me to do. And then the other problem that I have is I don't want to go out there and just stick a ton of fish and, potentially not shut down the area, but, educate them too terribly much. So I may be running similar pattern stuff and then bounce out and try something polar opposite, completely different. But, for the most part, I'm going to stick with what I found. The other thing, going to a brand new lake, and I just kind of want to key in on this when you were just talking again, Bailey, it jumped into my mind. But I try and find stuff that I'm comfortable with, that's going to suit my style, my ways that I'm comfortable fishing. And I think that helps me relax a little bit, even on a lake that I have absolutely no clue about. Doesn't matter how much you look at it on like Google Earth or how many maps you look at, or I've sat out in my shop and I've pulled up the Lake Master maps on all kinds of lakes and just scanned around and looked, and it's like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And then you got your phone, you bring up Google Earth, and you're kind of looking to the two compared side to side, and it's like, all right, these areas look familiar to me. So I'm gonna start with familiarity. If that's not going, then I'm a lost little chicken out there. So yeah, just wandering around and until I hopefully stumble on something. Sometimes the lake says, "Hey, look at me," and it did that. Oh, geez. I was just telling my daughter and girlfriend this tonight. We were out to dinner, and I said that one bass was showing me what the lake is doing, and I didn't listen. So I did not listen.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, it's lessons learned, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. But are you going to believe a 14 or 15-inch bass? I didn't. I should have.
That's one thing that is always so tough. So I shouldn't say always so tough, but I think for people that might be new to tournament fishing and they kind of learn the concept of, laying off fish during practice, right? Especially like the day or two before. But then they take it to a literal sense of like they start catching a couple 1-pounders, like, oh, there's fish here, we got to go. Whereas
Right.
I think it was Polnick that we had on here. We're asking him something similar to that. And he basically mentioned, I go until I catch quality. Like, I don't care how many fish I catch in practice until I start catching the winning fish. And then I leave an area because you want to figure out what exactly is in that specific area. Like if you're catching a bunch of fish, just start playing around with different, baits to try to obviously spark a bigger bite. But
Correct.
over time, you'll understand if there's bigger fish in the area or not. They'll show themselves, especially if you have forward facing. I mean, if you're on fish, they'll make the big ones to make themselves present.
Oh, they're very curious little critters. They may not take a swipe at the bait every single time, but they're definitely curious.
Yeah, they just want to eat. There's a reason why they're so big. They know how to eat.
Right. And when, what's fake, what's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good advice from Brandon and other amazing anglers. So yeah.
So one thing with that, like especially looking at like the Santee event with the guys that were fishing, you saw a lot of guys saying they were trying to look at stuff where the fish were going to be. And then there were guys that like a Seth Fighter, how he got his AOI was literally just going out and fishing the moment versus having any preconceived notions or trying to think what they should be. Because I think if there's anything we've learned the past few years is that bass fishing is changing every single year and what these fish have been doing. I think since COVID year, I mean, I think one thing you hear the most now is I've never seen them do that before.
Right.
I've heard that countless times.
Mm-hmm.
I think whether it's a fishing pressure thing or whatever, I mean, there's so many different theories, but are you kind of guy that likes to go try to figure out where they're going, or are you just going to fish the moment and adjust as you go?
So I've got an open coming up in Richmond, Virginia, on the James River. I'll be leaving Saturday for that, for the drive out there. Thank you, sir. But so I'm going to approach that one as a moment because it's a river, which rivers have tended to be my nemesis a little bit. And it's also tidal. And this is brand new to me, the whole tidal thing. But going back to the Classic and Hartwell, I was trying to envision where the fish were going. And I don't think I was far off. I really, really don't. I mean, I found fish. Obviously in practice, I caught some quality fish and then backed off spots. And then, I think I had a few opportunities tournament day at some decent fish. So I don't think I was too terribly far off. The other thing that I've made mention is I fished behind a bunch of really good vacuum cleaners, and my rotation and my timing was inevitably off. So, and that's okay. It just happens. And it might not have been by much, a couple of minutes off. Mm-hmm. And especially on lakes like Hartwell, let's just talk Hartwell. There's other ones, obviously Norman, Douglas. Those are the ones that I've been on that, kind of taught me some things. These bait fish oriented lakes, the shad lakes, the herring lakes, the fish aren't that far away from any good looking area. It's just a matter of timing. And they could be just out of earshot or eyesight or whatever. And then when they push that bait up, or the bait decides to do something funky and it triggers them, then, you know, it's chaotic and it's fun and it happens quick. But I was trying to figure out where they were going. I think I was in some instances I was ahead of them, and some instances I was behind them. So it just, I was close. Give me a hand grenade.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's something I'm trying to, I mean, not just a tournament angler, but as an angler in general, force myself mentally is we get so sucked into, one, just this textbook, but two, we look at a weather forecast like, oh, it's going to push them back. It's going to push them this way or that. And then your day goes into trying to account for that theory versus going and just fishing and letting the fish tell you what's going on. Where we get we learn, so there's so much information out in this space, and we learn different things from different anglers of all over the country. And they're like, oh yeah, when that cold front comes in, like you got to pull back, like they're going to be gone. Where they can still be there. You might need to slow down, and you spend so much time looking for them. And you're like, oh, I can't find them. I don't know where they went to, when you never checked the area where they were.
Correct.
I think that's one thing we get so sucked into. And that's one thing I'm trying to force myself to do, is because I try to read way far too into this crap.
There's a whole bunch of gravy boat filled, gravy laden, whatever you want to call information out there. And it's overwhelming. Which gets me, to think, just do what you're comfortable with, man. If it happens, it happens. Brian New said it on the St. Johns River. I believe it was this year. He says, when it's your time, you can't stop it. But when it's not your time, you can't force it. And we've all been there. And that goes with absolutely anything that you take on in life, not just fishing. So when it's meant to be and when it's going to happen, there's no stopping it. But we've all tried to force things, and it's frustrating and it doesn't work. And that's when you just got to say, hey, it is what it is. And I'm not going to let this dictate how I'm going to act and be and all that stuff. That's where the mentally strong stuff comes in. And, I've learned that it's been something I've had to teach myself. So not trying to jump onto that whole deal, but if you want to segue, go ahead. But
I mean, hit it and run with it. You're the host, remember? Come on.
Oh, good Lord. I should be asking you guys questions.
We have a couple more questions that we can get to and have some fun here at the end. But I know there was one story we talked offline that I think you said you'd really like to share with folks, and we wanted to give
some of the behind the scenes things that that not a lot of people really know about.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hit it.
So this story, I mean, everything made my classic. Don't get me wrong. The fans, the support, just the entire event, the staff at BASS, just everything that they planned out, all of the dinners from the sponsors and from BASS was phenomenal. Everything was absolutely amazing. This one particular story tops them all for me personally, and I'd like to share it with you guys. So went to the expo on Sunday, which I thought was great. Got to sign a whole bunch of t-shirts and stuff at the Yamaha booth. I sat right next to Pat Schlopper and Scott Canterbury. Pat's got a signature kind of like mine, which is great, just P-Schla. And then Scott Canterbury has got the most gorgeous handwriting. It's just every signature was spot on. It's almost like he had a rubber stamp and he would bonk, but he was actually signing it all. Just flawless. And both great guys. I couldn't have been any more lucky to sit between them. Pat's also left-handed. I'm left-handed, and Scott was right-handed. So we were all three signing one shirt at a time. And it was just a hoot, interacting with the people that would come by, and had a gas. So from there, went to the Skeeter booth. And my daughter happens to be with me at the expo as well. She wanted to see just kind of some of the things that we're going to go on. We stopped by Power Pole, talked to Casey and a couple other guys over there, ran into Bernie Schultz, was talking with him. He's like, I know who you are. I was like, what? Really? So anyway, that was cool. Get over to the Skeeter booth, and I'm a couple people down from Clay Dyer. And I was like, holy crap. I've looked up to Clay for years as an inspiration and as a person, just like, wow, look at what this guy has accomplished, is accomplishing. And it should be, it should just be motivation for absolutely anybody and everybody. He is so mentally strong, and just any little, what seems easy to us, menial, everyday task. It's a deal for him. But yet he's a professional angler. He's fishing the Central Opens this year as a pro angler. It's freaking awesome. He's been doing it for years. It's this guy's dream, and hell or high water, handicap or not, he's chasing it, man. And that's cool. That's inspiration. So I wanted to talk to him, but I didn't want to bother him. He was signing stuff, and I think there was another fella in between us. And at one point, I was giving the other guy a little hard time, and Clay kind of looks up at me and goes, "Get him, Keith." And I was like, "I got him for you, brother. Don't worry about this." Anyway, it was fun. Nice little exchange. I was also a couple people down from Brandon Polinick too, so I was trying to talk with him a little as well. Met him on the lake. Great guy. As you guys know, you've had him on your show. So it wasn't until afterwards we were going to go throw shirts out to the crowd at the weigh-in on Sunday, and it worked out really cool that we got to be up in the crowd, my daughter and I, and there was a couple other guys that were in other areas. But so prior to that, we're all sitting in the back outside of the staging area for where they bring the boats in for the weigh-in. And Drew Cook pulls up with his rig. He's sitting in his boat, and then Mark Menendez, and this is just going to be name dropping 101 here, and I know you guys are really having fun with this story, but anyway, and just, Pat Schlopper, Scott Canterbury, just a whole ton of other guys, and Clay Dyer. And they get Clay up on the boat, and he's standing there, and they're laughing and yucking it up and telling stories about how he was riding his chair down to the lake to go fishing, and it got away from him or whatever happened, and he bails from the chair, and one of his rods goes in, and he goes after it, and he's got to go get his chair. It's down at the bottom of the lake, and so they hook up a Z71 to it, and he dives down and hooks it up, and they yank it out and twisted the thing, but he was okay, type of thing. But they're reliving all these stories, and they're laughing about it. It's like, this is so awesome. And so then he just kind of, this is the part to me that made my classic. And I'm going to try and say it without being too emotional here. So he just kind of separated himself from that whole conversation that these other guys were having. And he turned to me, and before I could say, "Clay, I've been wanting to talk to you," he's like, "Keith, I just have to tell you, I watched both of your day 1 and day 2 weigh-ins in person." He goes, "Absolutely amazing. You really inspired me and touched me with how you handled yourself and some of the things that you said. It was really, really nice to see." I was like, "You got to be freaking kidding me right now." I was going to say the same thing to you, except in a different light, for what you've done your entire life, your career and everything since you've been, obviously in the limelight. Wow. What an inspiration to anybody and everybody. So that was really freaking cool for me. I never in a million years did I ever think, A, I would be at a classic, B, I would be intermingling with some of these amazing anglers and great people, and then C, to have Clay pay a compliment to me of such magnitude. That wow,
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Badass, dude.
It was great. So I'm on cloud 9 after that. I couldn't have thought of a better way to end a classic. In my mind, right there, I won the damn classic.
Weekend made.
Yeah, 100%. Whole trip worthwhile. I mean, all the series of the whole event was just a win for me, and that just topped it off. Yeah, I can't express. I can't put into words. It doesn't seem to do justice for what that whole deal meant. I want another one.
Yeah. I know you're a guy that I don't mean that you don't like to get compliments, but you're one where it's like when people compliment you, you do your best to kind of be humble about it, but you don't want to make a deal of it.
Yeah.
And I think something like that is probably one you were probably smiling ear to ear your entire drive home thinking
Gloating.
It wasn't gloating, but it was just like, wow, that happened. And then at one point we saw a donkey in the median in Kentucky somewhere. And
geez.
my daughter and girlfriend both were like, you're better pull over, take a break. You know, you're hallucinating or something like that. I was like, man, am I hallucinating? A buddy was following me that drove down, and he calls me. He's like, "Did you see that donkey in the middle of the road?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, thank you." Anyways, but the entire rest of the trip, there was a dead donkey in the road. It was like, what the hell? Only in Kentucky, right? But I don't know if Robertson went through first or what the deal was. Anyway, but no, that was definitely a highlight, and I got to share that with my family first, and it good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff.
Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. It's incredible.
I'm glad you guys were wanting to listen to it. So
yeah,
I don't know about the listeners. We haven't got any more. You said you had a couple questions. Let's get some people's questions answered first, and then we can revisit or whatever you guys want to do. I got all night. However long you want to keep people on, that's up to you. Wait a minute, I'm the host. We're running this thing till midnight.
24-hour session with Keith Tuma.
Yeah, right. We can probably talk it up.
Me and Bailey might have to leave the stream and just let you go.
All right.
Just let you keep talking.
We're gonna leave it to you, Keith. You run it for as long as you want it.
Sure.
But no, for real, that's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. And
you're welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it.
Yeah, always. You know, this is your show, anyways. Like we said, you're the host. I mean, this is your platform to tell the folks what you want.
Can I get that? Can I get that in writing and notarized?
Yeah, we can do that. You know, you're always welcome on this show. Come on, no, but seriously, that was awesome. And I can't wait to clip this and share this to social with Clay. And
I think you'll be appreciative.
Yeah, and that's for the folks, like Clay is one that we've been in touch with, and we're getting him on the show here soon. So you'll have to look forward to that. And I think you'll have to be the host for that show, Keith.
If he would be okay with that, I would love to be on with him. I think it'd be fantastic.
From the sounds of that conversation, I don't think he's going to have a problem with that. So to get into a couple questions here,
sure,
we'll circle back on that later. But we have a question here from Jordan Thompson, and he's asking, how long did the high of winning the Open last year take to go away, or are you still riding it? And I think more to kind of rephrase his question, not to replace his question. So sorry, Jordan, if you think I replaced your question, but what did that do? Like, what did that win do for your confidence? I know we had you on here after that Open win, but like now that you're, over a year away from that win, what has that done to you as an angler?
Okay, you mentioned the word confidence, and I'm just expand on that a little bit. Let's touch on the question. I'm still riding that high, as anybody would be. But as far as confidence, that was a series of 3 days, and on those 3 days, the last day especially, it turned out that day I was the one that was chosen to have the winning bag. And then I have to leave it there. And that's if I don't know if that's humble or whatever. Do I still draw on it? Do I still relive it? Abso-freaking-lutely. Every chance I get, I relive it. I don't let it get in the way. And it's definitely not a chest beating thing for me in any way, shape, or form. On that day, I was number one. And it worked out great. Did not expect it. Didn't see it coming. Never anticipated it. I couldn't have planned that or scripted it how it happened. So this plays back into something that I've said numerous times. Yesterday's history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today's the present, or the present, or it's a gift. That's why we call it the present. I just went and blew that all up. But y'all get what I'm saying. But it's history, and yeah, I've got the memories. There's footage, there's pictures, there's write-ups, there's all that stuff that's not going to go away that we can all draw on. But it was one event. I've got to look forward to the next event, and then also relish being present now. And I think that works for me. So trying to be humble, modest, all those things, definitely that's a strategy of mine. I've played it the other way in past with local little derbies and stuff around here. It's like, wow, yeah, I won the hell out of this one, so why wouldn't I go win this one? And then end up just bombing that one. It's like, oh, all right, stupid. That's why. you got a head full, and you got taught a lesson, and you got knocked down a rung or two. It's like, okay. So just little life lessons along the way. So I'm still riding the high. Thank you, Jordan, for the question. Great.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I had a guy recently, which I don't know why in the world he would ask me. I haven't done crap. But he asked me about how do you keep, I think he mentioned something along the lines of, how do you keep a stable mindset after you have success in a tournament? And I thought it was kind of a loaded question, because one, I think it depends on the level of tournament. I think, a local derby, you win it, it's like, oh, cool, got some beer money for the day, that type of thing. I think there's definitely something to be said on winning like a national tournament in terms of an open, an elite event. I mean, we probably can never even touch on a classic. Once you win the Bassmaster Classic, then I'll ask you what that's like when you come to show.
Oh my God. That is a tall order, brother. But I'd love to try just for you.
That's right.
And me.
That's right. I'll keep you to it. But I think we got Punch Fish in the chat. Can Keith be my life coach? I think
heck yeah,
can say that.
If I can't make it in this fishing thing, I'll just sign up for life coach duty all the time. So as long as people pay me with fishing trips, I'm in. Let's do this.
Oh, deal. Wow. That sounds like a bargain. Like
it does for me. Imagine the education I'll get just fishing with a bunch of different people.
Yeah. So what I was saying, there's definitely something. I think every angler that is in this tournament deal for a long time will run into success. And I think I shouldn't speak and say everyone, but I think a lot of people go through that dilemma of, you found success, you don't want to sound like a jerk, but you also want to be proud of your win. How do you handle it? Like it's always it's kind of a weird deal. Like you want to obviously be excited about it, but you don't want to be too excited and piss people off. Like it's a weird thing, isn't it?
It is. It's a fine line. But I'm going to go back to your success comment, and you said some people find success, some really necessarily don't. But I feel like if we can take our little victories, or just the fact we're fishing a tournament of this caliber, and hey, I set my goal on the Harris chain for a top 40. Got it. I would have been tickled pink with a top 40 for my very first event. Absolutely. But we got to find success in absolutely everything we do. And the definition of success should vary for every individual person. Some people aren't happy unless they are absolute the winner. And that means collecting the check, getting a trophy, whatever. Some other people, hey, I'm doing what I love. I'm not at work. My family is behind me. They want me. They're supporting me to go out and do this fishing. Something that I love, and that in itself is a success. They're on the water doing something that they love. I can pay in crankbaits. Dude, the northern pike up here will love you or hate you. They'll have a bunch of treble hooks in their throats. But just different levels of success, I think, and that's with anything we do. Just take break it down into hourly goals, or hourly, little things, or daily, or whatever you want to do. And just trying to achieve that, or be thankful for it. And if it doesn't work out, poof, okay, roll on, next.
Yeah. One of the things I've adopted recently, and I can't remember who the heck I was talking to this about, but Brandon Polinick's video, I think it was the Sabine River. Was it? It might have been the Sabine. It's either Sabine or Harris, where he said, it's either you win or you learn. Like there is no lose, win or learn. I think there's definitely losers in terms of like your character.
That's
like,
how you handle yourself, and that's a personal choice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think adopting that has become a big thing in mental clarity of not having this negative mindset. I think I need to have the Keith Tuma mindset of staying positive and either I'm going to win or I'm going to learn something.
It was one heck of an education. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just taking small things out of it. And I think that's something you took a lot from since your open win.
Yeah. If you want to look at the classic results in terms of, I mean, everybody got a check. That's a given. That's common knowledge. Everybody knows it. So
that helps the positive attitude.
Right. Technically, I didn't come in 55th. I mean, in terms of bass weight, sure did. But technically, there was a 30-way tie for 26th place.
Yeah.
That's a fun way to look at it.
Yeah. Who was? Hold on.
I didn't read that question.
Oh, we had Jordan Thompson here saying that whole speech was life coaching 101. Better write the contract.
100 better.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Crankbaits, keep going.
I'm gonna look up the Bassmaster Classic 2022 results here because I want to see who's in 26.
There's a 30-way tie for 26th place. Come on, let me have my little moment.
You were one spot away from tying Greg Hackney in 25th.
That's awesome.
You can put that on your resume.
That's a big freaking deal.
That's right. Oh, that's awesome.
In monetary compensation, he was one spot away.
True story.
That's right.
It's all about how you handle the humility.
There was no humility, man. I own that whole freaking moment.
I'm just saying in general, like life, like in fishing, there's people that can't handle the humility and they just stay pissed off, angry all the time, right? And then there's people who are humble and they're like, congrats, man. I'm so pumped that you did this. Awesome job. And I learned everything on the water, and you take that and you grow from it. And it speaks volumes to the type of person that you are, because we, as fishermen, we all have terrible stretches where we just plain out suck, but it's how you rebound from that.
If you're gonna make a livelihood at it, or if you're gonna try and fish more tournaments or do something, anything, you definitely have to learn from the times where you weren't as successful as you'd hoped, and apply it to future stuff, and hopefully it works out. And obviously learn along the way, like you were saying, for sure.
Own your mistakes is basically the way you can go about saying it, right? Just own up to it.
Absolutely.
Learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's 3 different type of people in terms of fishermen, but I think this could also be translated to athletics too. There's your guy or girl that's like the horrible winner, but also a horrible, like even worse of a loser in terms of how they represent themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's folks like you that, regardless of the outcome, are amazingly positive. You might internally potentially be annoyed at some point, but you're not going to ever let it like be known. Like, you're always going to look at the positive side. But then there's also that side of people that I've seen, which I don't think it's a bad thing, but they're so overly competitive that you can tell they're pissed off, but they're not going to tell you. They're going to force a positive deal to the public, but then you get them alone. They're like punching their truck or something like that. Yeah, Andy's like,
oh, poor Andy.
No, but I'll openly admit it. Like, it's something that I've had to work on a lot, is like humbling myself, right? Like,
sure.
As soon as you have any inkling of success, you can either run away with it or you can stay flat-footed and grounded. And I mean, as somebody growing up in Bailey was in a lot of athletics as well, like any bit of success as a high schooler, a moody teenager, you kind of run with it, and it's how long it sticks with you.
Yep.
So, and learning from a lot of hard life lessons, it's how you recover.
Absolutely.
So
look at there. You can be a life coach as well. Look at the inspiration that my hosting ability has brought out in the 2 of you fellas. Such fine young men. I'm so proud to be associated with you, and I'm glad I could take you under the Tuma wings.
The
You're like
Tuma wings. Love it.
You're like the Taylor Swift of hosting. You're just getting
Oh, she's so much better looking than I am, though.
Hot takes.
Oh god, that's amazing. Well, Keith, we're gonna wrap this up here in a
Okay.
second. But one of my questions I have for you is, now that you got to be on this Bassmaster Classic stage with all these guys and get to meet all the different pros, what 3 guys do you most want to have a beer with?
Ooh, this is easy.
Uh-oh.
All right. I've done it.
Reframe the question, Bailey. Think of a harder one.
Oh, come
No,
on.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, I've already had a beer with Patrick Walters, but he's definitely on the list again. Great guy. Caleb Summerall will be another one.
Okay.
And Lee Livesey.
All right.
Even though Lee'd make me drink a bush latte, I'd choke one down for him. Whatever. It's actually not that bad a beer. I kind of enjoy it from time to time.
Yeah, for $4.99 for like a 12-pack.
I think you get a 30-pack up here for that. They practically pay you to take it out of the store. It's pretty good stuff.
Let's hear the why. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
The why?
Yeah.
I know why you picked Patrick Walters from the last time, but we have new listeners here, so go through why Walters, why Summerall, why Livesey.
Well, have you seen Walter's shorts? I mean, good Lord. It takes a special kind of character to pull those off. And
Taylor Swift.
No, that has nothing to do with it.
Especially no mustache.
He's just a great guy. Super nice, friendly, personable, fun guy to hang around. And you want to talk about some behind the scenes funny as heck stories? Yeah, he's got them. Caleb, I just met him at the Classic. We sat at the same table at the Yamaha Angler Appreciation Dinner, and he and his wife JC were just phenomenal people. It was really cool. We had a Cajun cuisine for dinner that night, and so they're breaking it down. Oh, you got to try this and you got to do that. They're from Louisiana, and just go down. Here's how you got to put these dishes together and all that. And it's like, wow, it added to the experience. And just a super personable, down to earth fella. Not to mention on day 2, he's like, try this. So it helped a little bit. It's like, okay, that was in the back of my head, but you know what? I'm going to roll with it. So he helped me out a little bit, which I thought was really cool. Lee, on the other hand, I had never met him. So a buddy of mine, the one that followed me down and verified the donkey story, was staying on the lake at a house, and a package shows up. Turns out Lee was staying at that same house like a couple days prior, and one of his packages showed up. And my buddy sends me a picture and says, hey, this showed up at the door. And I was like, I can see him in his boat. This is a media day. He's right over there. It gives me a good reason to go over and talk to him. And so I did. I wandered over there, and Lee, I'm Keith Tuma. Nice to meet you. He shook my hand. He's like, what's happening, bud? Want a beer? And I was like, no, better not. But I said, do you recognize this address? He's like, oh, yeah, I should have like 3 or 4 packages coming to that place. I said, well, we'll get it to you. No worries, But he was just a down-to-earth dude. And I know he had some stuff going on, and he was, busy, but he was kind of winding down, but just down-to-earth guy. And I get along with down-to-earth guys.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. I could include a couple other ones, but you asked for 3.
I mean, feel free to
fire away.
Jacob Prosnick. I want to have a beer with that dude. He is all business all the time, and I 100% can appreciate that. Yeah. So that was my number 4. We'll leave the other ones alone for now.
All right.
Let me go mingle and rub elbows with these guys a couple more times, and then I'll have a better list for you. A top 10. How's that?
I like
in no particular order. It's just whatever pops in my head first.
Love it.
So I don't want you to think that there's the specified order here for these fellas that I listed.
Andy, you got anything for Keith here?
Oh man, at this moment no, but I'm sure that more will pop into my head because I have like 7 things. Like
we can do a recap of part 2 if you want. I'm good.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll make
anytime, Keith. You're always welcome. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So last question for you before we before we kick the host off this stream here. So you're really starting to see the country in terms of traveling, visit different lakes, fishing different parts of the country. What's on top of your brain right now like a lake wise that you want to go fish?
The only one that's on my brain right now is the James River, unfortunately. I'm there's so many lakes, like bucket list lakes, that I want to fish and explore and check out, but I don't want to. James River is going to be either my friend or my foe come up here in the next few days. So we'll see what happens on that. I'm looking forward to it.
All right,
I'm gonna try and keep it simple. So I'm sorry that's not the answer you were probably looking for.
No, it's
obviously after that it's going to be Oneida and then Chesapeake Bay. But in between there, I've got some stuff up here that I'm going to be fishing. So I generally take my next lake in line when I'm going to be fishing is the one that I'm thinking about spending my energy on, my brain power, whatever, if you will. And
it's a great train of thought.
Yeah, just trying to focus. Really wish I was down on Cherokee for the Southern that's coming up this week. That'll be fun to see how that plays out. It looks like the guys are really getting on them. But that's actually been one of my destination lakes. Toho, Kissimmee chain, or Kissimmee chain. That's been one of my destination lakes. Used to fish Okeechobee back in the day with my dad 100 years ago when I was a kid. So, and then throw a dart at a map in Texas, any one of those lakes. The Louisiana stuff spooks me a little bit. The Mississippi stuff spooks me a little bit, except for Pickwick. That's part of Mississippi. I've been on that one. That's fun. But so many lakes across this country that are just phenomenal. And name one, I'd love to go fish it. So
heck yeah, dude. Well, you better come up a few days early or stay a few days late when you come to Oneida and come see us.
I'm planning on probably solid 10 days of practice. So,
well,
and that may be too much for some, but I need to figure out a really big lake. So
we're about 2 hours away from Oneida. So
that's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah. You take a day. We'll take you out fun fishing on one of the honey holes near Oneida. We'll go blast them for a day.
That'd be great. Let's talk about that stuff off air though. You don't want to be giving away all your secrets like you were talking about earlier. Dang YouTubers.
Yeah, that's right.
On that note.
Right. All right. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah, appreciate you joining in for a little tuba time on your podcast.
That was a perfect closeout. We should have saved that for the end.
Oh, this isn't the end? You said it was the end?
No, this is where we boot Tuma time off.
Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for tuning in and the questions. They were fantastic.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Keith, and we'll talk to you real soon, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Right, man. Take care. Oh, I love Tuma time.
Yeah,
it's always fun getting Keith on the show, man.
Yeah.
Ever since meeting him at ICAST last year, and obviously we've gotten a bunch of time to chat with him from the first time he's been on the show. And you and I have helped out the Minnesota Bass Nation in terms of, hosting on their local trail stream that they got going on. But it's always an absolute pleasure to hang out with Keith. And it's somebody that I've been really happy to meet in this industry. One of the nicest people I've ever met. I don't say that about a lot of people.
I'm sad I missed him on the final day of the Classic. That would have been fun.
I know, you jerk. You can't even make time for Tuma time. What the heck?
Oh, I know. I suck. I felt like a chicken with my head cut off running around that place because where I was working and going to see everybody else, it was like the entire venue I had to walk across. Dude, I walked like 40 miles in 3 days. Like, I was exhausted.
You poor thing.
I know. My legs can't handle that.
Either way, big thank you to Keith Tuma for joining us tonight. And folks, we hope to see you guys this Thursday night. We're going to have a live stream previewing the Bassmaster Elite event on Lake Chickamauga. It feels like it's been a minute since we've had that. I think St. Cooper was the last one, so a few weeks ago at least. And we'll be giving away a bunch of prizes from Omnia, from Hobie Eyewear, from Queen Tackle, Humminbird, Minn Kota. So hopefully you guys will join us this Thursday night as we preview Lake Chickamauga. And those shows are always a good time. So hopefully see you guys there. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. And we will see y'all on Thursday night.
you.